Thursday afternoon at the 43rd edition of Le Giornate del Cinema Muto, Pordenone Silent Film Festival. And the first film of the afternoon is For the Soul of Raphael, or the first program, which is part of the Ben Carré series. The film was restored thanks to a grant from the New York Women in Film, so we're very grateful to them. The film comes from the Library of Congress. It's a beautiful film, beautifully tinted and toned, and it stars Clara Kimball Young. Obviously, the reason why it's here is because of the Ben Carré series, but something that's not in the note is a little something about Clara and her director, Harry Garson. Now, they were an item. Clara Kimball Young had originally been married to the director James Young, then she got into a very heavy love affair with Louis J. Selznick, David O. Selznick's father, who was an important producer of his time. And it was Selznick who set up the Clara Kimball Young Film Production Company. So Kimball Young was one of the early women film producers in the US. It's not quite certain how involved she was in terms of making executive decisions. If you read Gloria Swanson's autobiography, she does say that Clara Kimball Young was indeed involved. You'll notice in the film she seems very virginal. The truth is that apparently Clara Kimball Young had quite a mouth and swore like a sailor, which is another reason to love her. But so she had this affair with Louis J. Selznick. Then she met, actually I should add here, they were living in the same building. Selznick and his wife, Clara Kimball Young, and with her husband on West End Avenue in New York. I can't imagine what it was like when they all met, when the other members of the couple met in the elevator. It must have been rather awkward. So they had this relationship for some time. Then things fell apart and Clara Kimball Young had the affair with Harry Garson. Some people say that that was the beginning of her own decline, but we can see in several films. For the Soul of Raphael is a very good example. The Eyes of Youth, the year earlier, another really good example, that she's still very much in the game and she's really very able to show off her skills as a superb dramatic actress. She was also a terrific comedian. And if you had a chance to see the Vitagraph shorts that she made, it's really worthwhile. Now, after For the Soul of Raphael, we have the program of Argentinian films. We're very grateful to the Cinema Museum in Buenos Aires and Andres Levinson, who is here with us in Pordenone, who was in charge of the really exceptional restorations that you're going to see of both fiction films and lovely nonfiction. So it's an unmissable opportunity to see so many really strong Argentinian films together in one program here at the Giornate in such good state. After that, at 6 p.m., of course, don't miss the third of our annual costume design series. This is given this year by Priska Morrissey. In the past, we've been focusing on American films and costume design. This is going to be a talk about French costume design, specifically early cinema in France, and how the designers were paying attention to things like movement of fabric and also how the films were colored, how light would be reflected on them, and how that determined quite a lot of the costume design choices that were made. After that, in the evening, Girl Shy. Harold Lloyd, one of the great Harold Lloyd films. We're thrilled to have the Zero Orchestra accompanying it with a score by Dan Vandenhoek. We had this as our pre-opening in Sacile, but we couldn't lose the opportunity of also screening it during the festival. It's a marvelous film. You'll see in my presentation, I talk about the fact that a critic from the New York Sun said that it seems like it was written by a cross between Dr. Sigmund Freud and Dr. Max Sennett. And what better description of cinema in general, that conflation between psychology and absurdity, or which indeed is what life is all about. If anybody knows, by the way, who that critic was, please let me know, because sadly the reviews in the New York Sun at that time were not signed. Later in the evening, as you already know, don't miss the late evening screenings, one of the Uzbek films, The Daughter of the Saint. This is directed by Oleg Freilich, the same man who directed The Leper. It's a superb film, another real punch in the gut. When you read about the description, about the synopsis, you'll be quite surprised, I promise you, at the drama of it and the boldness of it. Again, very much a feminist cry for women's independence, for women to break free from tradition. Enjoy the screenings today. Friday morning, We start, of course, every morning at 9 a.m. with D.W. Griffith, very important D.W. Griffith shorts from 1908. After that, another Uzbek film, Arabi. This is the only film we had that's directed by a woman. Her name was Nadezhda Zubova. We're still hoping that people will be doing more research on her because she's a fascinating figure, very little researched. But we do know that she was born into a prominent noble family before the revolution, obviously. She attended one of the truly elite schools for only noble girls in St. Petersburg. And then when the revolution happened, she wholeheartedly joined the cause. This is the only fiction film that she directed. She began as an actress, then moved into direction, and most of her later career as a director was all non-fiction films. About sheep farming, you'll notice particularly the montage, the editing, which is very much immersed in Soviet styles from the time. 1930 is the year. After Arabi, we have Stronger Than Death, another in the Ben Carré series. This is a film I'm particularly excited to see because I've not seen it myself. It stars Alla Natsimova, one of the great actresses of her time, Russian Stanislavski trained, best known perhaps today for her role in Salome, the very Aubrey Beardsley designed or influenced Salome. And Ben Carré's art direction in this case, it's set in India. It's without question one of the highlights of the festival.